IELTS on computer is available every single day. Some people have to take the test multiple times to achieve that. Sometimes even 10 or 15 times before they reach that. Technology can provide opportunities, but also we need to be mindful that not all people will have access to technology. And those people who cannot have that access, they will be at a disadvantage. And our job is to ensure that we erase that disadvantage and provide equal opportunities to people.
Taking the test in certain countries improves your chances of scoring higher.
So don't learn and memorize certain words and idiomatic expressions just to use in the exam and impress the examiner. Lucky are those who are prepared. Well, I've taken my first IELTS exam in 2006, so I can even go back to 20 years ago.
Now listen to section 1.
Could you please tell us why IELTS is considered one of the trusted and globally recognized tests in the world?
Well, I think we should start with the fact that IELTS basically sets the standard of what a quality test should be. And this is supported by years and years of academic research and our strong focus on the security and safety in terms of the delivery, as well as on the integrity of the test. So that means that we have both the academic background, we have the security running the test, making sure that there is no cheating and other such things. And then, of course, we ensure that the test matches the purpose that the test takers have when they take this test. This is number one, and then we can follow with the fairness of the test. So what we mean by that is that the key for a quality test is to avoid cultural biases, right? Our test designers have very strong focus on making sure that the test components, that the test questions are really neutral and they fully match the environment in which people will be using English in real life, essentially. Following that, we can say that IELTS test also is recognized by more than 12,500 organizations globally, right? And the list of recognizing organizations includes governments, immigration agencies, universities, colleges, schools, multinational employers, and various professional and trade organizations. So this is like a great testimony, basically, for to confirm that IELTS is a very strong and a very reliable test. And one last bit is that IELTS also offers you a scope of flexibility, right? So it's available in multiple formats. You can take it in computer-based format, or what we call it IELTS on computer, or IELTS on paper in paper format. And also you can do it as academic or general English test.
What goes into designing the IELTS tests, marking the speaking and writing sections and ensuring fairness?
Designing an IELTS test is a very complicated, complex matter that requires both the academic part, where experts need to collaborate on deciding the key features of the test, but also some key areas such as the test security, the validity of the test, making sure that it should be fit for the purpose, basically, and then the test integrity, meaning that the test results will not be skewed in any way by, unfair marking or, some conditions that will make the test invalid or not valid for the purpose that we need. So to design a very good test, you start with the purpose of the test, and the key audience. What is the test for? And as we know, IELTS is the International English Language Testing System, which we all know as IELTS acronym, is used by people when they apply to international universities or for immigration purposes or work purposes. So we keep that in mind, and then we make sure that the test basically is fully fit for that purpose, right? With the questions, with the items that are in the test that are naturally occurring in the environment where people will be after taking that test. Then basically, in order for that test to be accepted, you need to make sure that the test fits some commonly accepted proficiency language framework, right? So the framework that will define what a quality test should be like. And IELTS is based on common European framework of reference for languages. So basically, CFR sets the parameters of language proficiency from A1 beginner level to C2 highly proficient level. And IELTS typically will test test takers from B1 to C2 levels, right? Making it fully fit for educational or work or immigration purposes. Then basically, once you decide on the fit and purpose and the framework, you make sure that you establish the formats of the test. So you know that IELTS is testing 4 skills: speaking, listening, reading and writing components. And after that, you proceed to establish the balance and fairness of the test, right? So the test should be balanced, meaning that it shouldn't be too easy or too difficult for the test takers, right? So it should test across the whole spectrum of capabilities. Then, of course, it's the fairness, and we already mentioned that all the key test items should be void of any cultural biases, right? So they must be neutral, as people will likely find in their work environment, you know. So it means no slang or stuff like that. And once you do that, you basically confirm on the scoring and grading process. You have very clear established lines of how to grade and score your students, and you end up with getting your band 1 to band 9 essentially, the scores that you get. You test the testing items before you put them in production, meaning that we run multiple of trial tests, right? And we treat them as an actual test in small groups where we basically review potential test materials.
If it's appropriate.
Yes, this is appropriate. This is a Cambridge process. As you know, test materials are created by Cambridge, and Cambridge requests all the test centers globally to conduct these small trial sessions. Yeah, but they're not really mock tests, but they serve the purpose, right? So they collect statistical data on how reliable the questions are, how difficult they are, how secure they are, and all that sort of thing, which allows them to create multiple banks of test questions that are then used in the actual test environment, right? So that is to say that this is basically like the academics doing their magic to create the test. And then 2 more things. The final ones is one is to ensure that you have security procedures in place. This is extremely important because without key security procedures in place, you cannot really trust the test, right? And so we have strong security procedures starting from the receipt of the materials, if it's a paper version of the test, or in terms of the security systems with our computer-based tests. And then we basically have controlled testing environment to ensure that the test takers are in secure and safe environment and integrity of the test is not a question. Final thing is essentially regular review of the whole testing process, review of the testing items to ensure that they are still actual, that they are still reflecting on the modern realities of the language. As we all know, the language
is alive and it changes with
Yeah.
time. Yeah, sure. Well, my next question is there a competition between the British Council and IDP when it comes to attracting test takers to their test centers?
Yeah. Okay, so this is the question that everybody pretty much asks, and it's a good question. Look, IDP and British Council are global partners, along with Cambridge University Press and Assessment, right? So that means we are proud co-owners of the test, right? But Cambridge develops the test, and IDP and British Council deliver the test. The main difference between our organizations is our mission and goals, right? And when it comes to global opportunities, organizations position themselves differently, they pursue different goals, and British Council here is to support the development of Uzbekistan in its educational aspirations. But when it comes to the test delivery, we follow the same standards, same procedures, and there is no competitive edge of one versus the other in terms of how we deliver the test. I mean, it's the same product essentially.
How has the introduction of computer-delivered IELTS changed general test-taking practices in Uzbekistan? Could you provide some figures?
Yeah, this is quite an interesting question, and thank you very much for asking this. And I think I'm particularly proud talking about the trends in Uzbekistan, because prior to 2019, and as we talk about the figures, our overall volume for computer-based exams was less than 2%. Which was quite a saddening point for me, because we have extremely bright students, and we were lagging behind compared to some of our peers. But then COVID happened, and we all stayed in lockdowns, and this unfortunate event was a major trigger in the change of how we live and study and communicate, and people started, catching up on the latest technology, video conferencing. Many young people had to buy computers and do their classes via Zoom or Teams or some other platforms, which in turn led to the spur in the kind of acceptance and comfort of the test takers accepting the new technologies, right? So as of now, we can see that we are well into the 20s in terms of the percentages of the total volume of tests that we do on computer. And rightly so, because exams on computer, I think, offer the biggest value proposition for our test takers for a number of reasons. IELTS on computer is available every single day. You can take the test up to 3 times per day. We have morning sessions, we have afternoon sessions, we have evening sessions. Then results for IELTS on computer can be released within 1 to 2 days maximum. So this is
much more comfortable for test takers if they're in a rush.
Yes, this is extremely useful for the test takers, and plus the availability of the digital certificate. You don't have to wait for your certificate
to be issued.
You can download it from your personal cabinet.
That's impressive. Recently, there has been an increase in the number of niners in Uzbekistan. Is it because the level of test takers has really improved suddenly, or was there a barrier in the past preventing them from getting the scores they deserved?
Yeah, I will answer the last part first. There are no barriers, and there have never been any barriers for people achieving whatever score they are capable of achieving. But I think there are some very specific reasons as to why we're seeing this, right? First of all, it's the improvement in terms of the accessibility of quality education in Uzbekistan, both locally and opportunities for our people to go and study abroad. Secondly, our government has a number of initiatives supporting teachers of foreign languages and students who receive high scores in IELTS tests or other foreign language tests. So basically, and plus, of course, our economy is developing, it's growing, there are more opportunities. So all of this creates appetite for English language learning, right? And then in response to this, we see a number of teaching centers that are opening up. And as they compete among each other, some of them see, for the teachers to have a 9, like the top score in IELTS, will be a major competitive advantage, like, the selling point.
Sure.
And of course, people get motivated, they work extremely hard to achieve that high score. And there is nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's a personal achievement, involves with a lot of hard work. And then some people have to take the test multiple times to achieve that. sometimes even 10 or 15 times before they reach
Yeah.
that. For regular students, this is absolutely not needed. And we are happy to say that, you know, if you have 6.5 or 7 in IELTS, that will get you to a very good school. Okay, so IELTS test is a great test, but it's just a bridge that will provide you with some
good
opportunities.
connection.
Yeah, it's a means to an end, not the goal.
What kind of opportunities does the British Council provide to test takers? I've heard that you provide some free resources as well. Could you please elaborate on that?
Yes, I can say that this is a quite recent development for us. I mean, we've always supported the test takers with learning resources, but we've created a new platform, like an ecosystem. It's called IELTS Ready. And this has two basically options. One is IELTS Ready Member, and the other is IELTS Ready Premium. So IELTS Ready Member is available to everybody without even taking the test, just registering. You can get your practice test, you can get your mock test, you can get your lessons, pretty much the whole lot there. IELTS Ready Premium for externals is available at a cost, but for those who register for IELTS on computer with us, we offer this free of charge, and it's even a more expanded version of the IELTS Ready, and that has way more than 40 practice tests there, guided instructions, video lessons, live lessons. And the only requirement from our end would be for you to register in advance so that you could enjoy that opportunity. To give you enough time to basically use that tool. And we're not advocating to, you know, take that tool instead of taking your classes, but this is a great addition to your regular routines and preparing for the test.
How do you see the future of IELTS with the recent developments in artificial intelligence, let's say?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'm not an AI specialist, obviously, but this is a very hot topic, and I think pretty much every English language teaching or assessment conference kind of booms with all of these discussions, right? And you have a very diverse range of opinions. Some people hate it, saying that, you know, we are going to lose our jobs and what is going to happen. And then you also have others who are really excited. They say, you know, this really simplifies my life. This speeds up a lot of things for me. So hate it or love it, it's here to stay, right? And we, British Council, as the thought leaders and in assessment, in English teaching, definitely pay attention to technology. We try to incorporate where we see it will bring the biggest benefit. And by the way, IELTS Ready Premium has that component where AI basically tracks your performance and will adjust your prep materials to help you reach the score you are aiming for. So yes, we are actively following that. We think that it has both pros and cons. And finally, to say that, you know, technology can provide opportunities, but also we need to be mindful that not all people will have access to technology. And those people who cannot have that access, they will be at a disadvantage. And our job is to ensure that we erase that disadvantage and provide equal opportunities to people.
Okay, now it's time to separate fact from fiction. Eldor, I've heard so many myths about IELTS that it's hard to know what's true. Yeah. Can you please help us debunk some of these myths?
With pleasure.
So, the first myth. You need to use complex vocabulary to score high. Is it true or false?
It's a false, obviously, yeah. When you take the exam, you need to use complex sentences, obviously, and vocabulary, if it's accurate and correct. But don't use them for the sake of it. You know, some people use these IELTS words and memorize them and then use them during the exam out of place, and it sounds a bit awkward. So whatever language you're using, it should sound natural, and the level of vocabulary you're using should actually reflect to your actual level. So don't learn and memorize certain words and idiomatic expressions just to use in the exam and impress the examiner.
Which is not part of your real vocabulary, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I see.
Examiners immediately notice if you have this memorized kind of phrases. They know it because it does sound quite unnatural and a bit awkward sometimes. Yeah.
I see. The second myth is accents affect your speaking score. Is it true?
False. Yeah, I mean, we all have accents. I have a bit Uzbekish accent. You might have Russian accent. Some people have Indian and Chinese accent. Even in geographically small country like United Kingdom have many accents within the country. So accent doesn't hinder your, doesn't, you know, affect on your mark, yeah. But obviously your speech should be comprehensible, like intelligible, so that when when I listen to what you're saying, I should be able to understand. So you should have a clear pronunciation that conveys the message properly.
That's great. Writing longer essays guarantees higher scores. How true is this?
We've got all the false myths, right? Quality over quantity, definitely. Focus on the quality of your responses, on your writings. Obviously, you need to reach the minimum level. I mean, word requirement, 150 words for task 1 and 250 for task 2. So that would be the minimum requirement. But over like 300 for task 2 essay would be too much, and you end up writing a redundant language, repetitive, simplistic sentences. Rather focus on shorter essay while meeting the minimum requirement, and work on the quality in terms of vocabulary, grammar, and structure, whether you're developing your ideas properly, cohesive devices like linking words and so on. So I repeat myself, quality over quantity.
There are rumors actually that even if you do not meet the word limit, these days IELTS is not penalizing the test taker. Is it true?
No, it's one of the requirements. It's a miss, obviously. Yeah, it's a false. It's one of the requirements. You need to meet the minimum requirement. So
250 words for task 2 and 150 minimum for task 1.
Yeah, so you will be penalized if it's under lengths. Yeah.
See, you must speak without any pauses to score a band 7 or higher.
That's a very interesting question. Let me think about this, okay? No, it's a miss, right? It's a false. We all pause in our...
Natural.
In our first language, we need to stop sometimes to recollect our thoughts, organize our ideas, or sometimes just to think of what to say, right? So it's a natural part of conversation to pause from time to time. But obviously your pauses should be natural, and it shouldn't be like awkward silence.
For too long.
Or too long, right? So absolutely, it's normal to pause.
Taking the test in certain countries improves your chance of scoring higher.
That's common myth, right? So I hear oftentimes students saying, "Oh, I should take in Kazakhstan because or previously there was people saying people used to say it's easier to take in summer or in winter,
depending on seasons, right?
Depending on the season, depending on the location. These are all basically
It's not true.
It's a nonsense. Yeah, absolutely.
IELTS results depend on luck because questions vary by test date.
I think luck plays a very important role in anything really. But again, as we say in Uzbek, lucky are those who are prepared well, who have good level. They become lucky automatically, right? So don't just hope for the luck itself. So you need to do some preparation. You need to do some practice, some reading, some listening, and before the exam. So yeah.
Is it true that tests are easier on some dates compared to others?
No, it's just you mentioned previously about the location, about the season, about the days, and so on. No, absolutely not. They are the standard international exams, so it's the same on every date, basically. If it's Friday 13th, does it mean it's going to be the harder one? No, absolutely not.
IELTS speaking scores are based on the examiner's first impression of you.
No. Again, obviously to have a good impression is important. It's a kind of human nature to leave a positive impression, but it doesn't affect on your score, obviously. Yeah. But again, in the speaking session, you need to try to maintain this kind of friendly rapport with the examiner so that your conversation goes in natural flow and in a friendly tone. But imagine if you start from the immediate first moment with a negative tone and you have this poor impression of each other. It can be sometimes a bit of awkward, but it doesn't affect on your score. Just keep in mind, yeah?
I see there are 3 questions in the listening section designed to confuse you.
Yeah, there are certain, we call them distractors. So they use paraphrases and synonyms to confuse the reader. Sometimes they use prefixes like happy and unhappy in the audio. So just to trick whether you can actually catch those small points and moments. Well, that's the point of the exam. So you should be prepared for those distractors and tricks, and be prepared to listen to different types of paraphrases and synonyms. Yeah, it all comes with practice.
It's better to guess answers in the reading part than to leave them blank.
Absolutely. It's 100% true, and you have to do that. If you miss a question, if it's difficult for you, you cannot find it, sometimes what I call use your gut feeling, you know, by looking at the question, think logically, think grammatically, and then try to predict the best possible answer. Yeah, it's very important students answer all of those questions. Even just blind guessing will still give you a chance of getting a point. But as we know, for incorrect answer, you're not getting penalized.
Yes.
So yeah.
Listening and reading tests have become easier compared to 10 years ago.
Well, I've taken my first IELTS exam in 2006, so I can even go back to 20 years ago. No, it's just our students are well prepared nowadays. They are more, they have higher level English than when we had back then, and they're exposed to English much more than we used to because of the digital media. You have the YouTube and all the resources online in English available, so students are much better prepared nowadays. Therefore, it might seem that it's easier, but actually it's more or less the same standard.
Well, I myself took my first test with the British Council into 2010 or 11.
Right.
And I'd say that it was rather difficult. You know what? It's mainly because if you follow the Cambridge series books, the previous ones, they were rather difficult, like choose no more than 3 words, 4 words even. Nowadays, just 1 word, isn't it true?
It's a subjective look at the question, the point, because at that time we had less resource and fewer materials to look for. And I remember when I took it, I didn't know it was IELTS test itself. We were told we will have an English exam at the end of the course. We went there, blindfolded basically, having no idea, and we took the exam. But maybe the questions have become more, standardized, and people are more aware of those question types, and therefore it might feel easier nowadays. But nevertheless, it's a standard international test. They try to maintain the same level over time. But again, there might be slight changes that they might be adding some ideas for critical thinking skills, perhaps. It's something might be new in the IELTS as well, which maybe we didn't have before.
I see. Thank you very much for debunking this myth. And now let's have a little fun with rapid fire round. I'll throw questions at you, and you have to respond with the first thing that comes to your mind. Deal? You ready? Okay. The first one, how would you describe IELTS in 1 word?
Oh, exciting. It's amazing. Is it just 1 word? Exciting.
What's more powerful, a great introduction or a killer conclusion in writing task 2?
Equally important. It's very important to have very good introduction. It's like first impression. It sets the tone for the examiner to what to expect further. And the conclusion is like the final paragraph before I put the mark. So this is a conclusion kind of defines, okay, whether my first impression was correct or not. But you might actually kill the whole essay with poor conclusion or no conclusion. So I would give the 50% of the mark. Again, it's very subjective for introduction and conclusion equally. Yeah.
Is there a book you would recommend to every test taker excluding the Cambridge series?
There are a number of books. It's very hard to pick a book, to be honest, because
your top choice.
Improve your reading skills would be good for reading.
Improve your reading skills.
Yes, Advantage IELTS is good for writing. Successful Writing is a good one for writing as well. It's very hard to prepare for the exam based on one specific book.
If the IELTS exam were a sport, which one would it be?
It would be boxing.
Boxing.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a fight, isn't it? It's a fight with yourself, with your determination, with your commitment.
That's a good point.
And it's a very hard work as well, yeah.
If you could rename IELTS, what catchy name would you give it?
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just
like Nike?
Enjoy the process, enjoy the preparation, enjoy the whole vocabulary, listening, all those things. It's a kind of exciting journey.
Enjoy education and learning.
Yes,
right?
It's a whole learning process. So don't take IELTS as a subject. It's a language. So you're actually acquiring the language through this, or thanks to this exam. Beautifully designed, so just enjoy it, yeah.
What's the one thing test takers should never ever do in the writing test?
I mean, leave a blank paper and submit blank paper, so you need to write something,
You need
right?
to write,
So
yes.
yeah, and I had a case when one of my friends back then, and he actually couldn't write anything, and he actually wrote a letter to the examiner. I'm sorry, I cannot write an essay, but please, please, please put me 5 points, which is enough to get me into university. He ended up getting 1.0.
1 point.
Yeah, that's the case. So don't do such kind of silly things, and don't write a letter to the examiners or anything like out of topic.
See, so would you give us 3 top tips for all IELTS test takers out there waiting for their test dates?
Take your time to prepare. So don't leave till the last minute. 1 week ahead of your exam, you start preparing. So plan ahead. So if you plan to take the exam in the next year, start doing it now so that you have plenty of time to get prepared for the exam well. Commitment. So you really have to commit into this exam and go through all those things. You cannot overlook some parts, and just because it's difficult for you, for example, writing, and then not doing your home tasks in the writing, so it can lead to lower score. So
Give yourself time, enough time to prepare,
commitment, enthusiasm, and maybe kind of positive attitude. So don't take this as something like exam of life and death. It is a test. So accept it as a test. So approach it as a test, an exciting test, and enjoy the whole process of learning. Learning the language, making friends, going to courses, taking the mock tests. And once you get into university, you start remembering those fun times with the IELTS. Yeah, it should be something enjoyable and memorable in the long term.